Hey there, Fight fans. It's John Pollock with you, and this is Fight News Now Extra. John Ramdeen and Robin Black will join me in just a couple of minutes. Today in the news, the wrestling world loses one of the most well-remembered managers. The Nevada Commission speaks out on TRT once again, and a UFC Hall of Famer calls it a career. Mark the Hammer Coleman, the very first UFC heavyweight champion and winner of the grueling 2000 Pride Grand Prix and dubbed the father of ground and pound, has called it a career. Coleman made the announcement online following his recent hip replacement surgery. Coleman had pretty well been retired, as he has not fought since February of 2010, where he was submitted by fellow UFC Hall of Famer Randy Couture. Loretta Hunt of SI.com has reported that 37-year-old mixed martial artist Fallon Fox, who is a 2-0 fighter, is having her license approval under review by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation. The reason for the investigation is that Fox revealed to Hunt that she is a transgendered fighter who had surgery back in 2006. Fox becomes the first transgendered fighter in MMA and has created a debate, at least internally, in Florida. Keith Kaiser, the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, spoke to Damon Martin of Bleacher Report and stated that because of a past steroid test failure, Vitor Belfort is unlikely to receive an exemption for testosterone replacement therapy, which the UFC had granted Belfort for his most recent fight with Michael Bisping in Brazil. Belfort's next fight will also be in Brazil on May 18th against Luke Rockhold. And finally, we end with some sad news with the passing of Bill Moody, better known to wrestling fans as Percy Pringle in his early days, and Paul Bearer when he came to the World Wrestling Federation in 1990 as the manager of The Undertaker. Bearer had numerous stints with the company right up until last year, going into WrestleMania where he was paired with Kane. Moody was 58 years old. And John Ramdeen, do you have any memories of Paul Bearer?
Actually, my cousin went to a show and he wanted to get some stuff signed, and I guess Paul Bearer said, "Can you not let me put my shit down first?" So I guess that's the memory I have.
To me, one of the best gimmicks, and a guy who was a legit mortician when he threw that idea and Vince McMahon put it together. Well, you are going to be Paul Bearer, manager of The Undertaker. So sad news of Paul Bearer's passing. We move over to mixed martial arts. First of all, Dan Henderson and Rashad Evans is now official for UFC 161 in Winnipeg. So 2 strong light heavyweight bouts already and a main event still to come.
Well, word is, we've been told from our sources that the main event that it will be Barao and Eddie Wineland for the interim bantamweight championship. So it depends on how you look at it. I know a lot of casual fans want to see 5 rounds between Rashad and Dan Henderson, but they're going to have to settle for the bantamweights, which I think is almost more exciting. They'll have a deeper gas tank, they're going to be faster, and it's for a championship.
Yeah, you know, Winnipeg can't go wrong. Let me tell you, that arena is going to be insane. The MTS Center, it holds 14,000 people. They're going to go nuts. I'll predict that this will sell out in the first day for sure. Winnipeg is a big fight town, and this is shaping up to be a great card.
And as you guys mentioned there, if Barao is fighting in June, that must at least give the UFC an idea that Dominic Cruz is probably not going to be ready to come back this summer as they were hopeful of. And hopefully this guy can return by the end of this year, because no one has had worse luck in the UFC than Dominic Cruz.
Man, Dominic Cruz has been through surgeries. He's had something that was implanted reject. I mean, he's still a young man, but at this stage, when you've got a guy who relies so much on mobility like he does, this is going to affect him forever. And for a guy to have to come back after a couple of year layoff and fight a guy at the level of a Barao or whoever's the interim champion at the time, man, it's going to be really tough on this kid.
The thing is, Dominic Cruz is just such a consummate professional, and he's a guy that really wants to make sure that he's at the top of his game. So I wouldn't be surprised that if he takes the same route that George St. Pierre did, and just make sure that when you're ready to fight and you're ready to fight for a title, that you're very well prepared.
Robin Black, you are the head of a commission, and you find out that a fighter that you have given a license approval to is actually a transgendered fighter. As mixed martial arts continues to grow, it's cases like this that probably no one ever assumed that they would have to, debate upon. But this is the case in Florida. What do you do in a case like this?
If I'm the commission guy, it's going to be different than a lot of people. I got a pretty open mind. You know, initially, my feeling is going to be, you're a woman now. If 7.5, 8 years ago you had surgery, you know, you became a woman, you're a woman, you fight as a woman. That would be my initial response. But we're actually going to have to take a little deeper look here and go, what's the science? You know, look at the hormone levels, look at the muscular development levels, assess the risk, and assess the risk of having somebody who, you know, maybe has become a female and what has, you know, happened in their physical development along the way. It's really complicated. And my initial instinct of, cool, you're a woman, we're cool with that, we have an open mind, go fight women, maybe that's not the right one.
Another commission story is Keith Kaiser saying Vitor Belfort unlikely to get an exemption for testosterone replacement therapy. Last fight was in Brazil. Next fight is in Brazil. Do we sense a pattern here in Vitor's twilight years in the UFC?
Yeah, why not? If he can't get an exemption in Las Vegas, then don't have him fight in Las Vegas. He's from Brazil. You know he's going to have a huge following. The venue's going to be full. Have Vitor Belfort fight in Brazil. If he finishes his career fighting in Brazil, say he fights 2 or 3 times a year, make them all there.
Is that the right call, Robin? If the UFC is true and want to monitor these guys' levels throughout camp, and they can monitor them, should Nevada give him an exemption? But he does have this failure on his record that others don't.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just so incredibly complicated now. We opened up the door. We said, okay, there's no performance-enhancing drugs. You can't use anything. Nobody use anything. If you fail, you're out. Well, wait a second. If you're getting a little bit older, you can take this drug, but only this much. And if you're above that much, then we'll penalize you. I'm already confused. These doorways have been open now, and this is going to get more and more confusing. There's going to be debate, the rules. Somebody fails, somebody else thinks. We're at a time of developing how we're going to deal with this in the future. And right now, there's no answer.
Well, quite frankly, there's just no playbook in mixed martial arts in general. These guys are kind of just making things up as they go. They're trying to sort out what works and what doesn't work. They have no references, so they're just trying to make the best decisions that they can, of course. And the UFC they need the stars that they need right now, and Vitor Belfort's one of them. I mean, this guy's going to fight.
Well, one more thing is there are doctors now that treat aging as a disease, and they give you drugs to treat you for aging. And if they'll give these to regular people and you still want to be a fighter, I mean, it's just so confusing. It's going to get worse.
He's Robin Black, PhD, Dr. Ramdeen. I'm just simply John Pollock. Fight News Now Extra is still to come.